Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Get ourselves some snacks.
We just sort of want to catch up with you, Dede. You know, we haven't spoken to you since I guess it would have been last year when we had you on for Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
A naming convention I am quite glad we've moved away from. But there's been like quite a few big crossover horror hits this year. Would you say that this has been like a decent year for mainstream horror?
I mean, it's definitely been an amazing year for horror. I feel like many years are really good years for horror, and we either forget about it so we can talk about it in a different way, or it doesn't crack through the mainstream, like you were saying. But like the number of conversations I've had this year of being like, "Yep, Sinners is a horror movie, even if you like it." Like, it's been pretty incredible, to the point where, because Weapons just hit streaming, and so many of my friends who don't really like horror are watching it and texting me, being like, "Oh wait, this is really good." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And so I'm like, "Watch Bring Her Back," and everyone's like, "What?" I'm like, that was supposed to be like the big horror movie this year, and the fact that it's kind of fallen off of our consciousness is, if anything, the sign of a really good year for horror.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Has that been one of the highlights for you, or are there any other movies that have been, you know, a favorite?
That's been a really huge highlight, and also my Halloween costume. Weapons specifically, I was on Gladys, and I'm like, there was no chance I wasn't going to be on Gladys. I was just literally reflecting on it. There's one film that was making the festival rounds this past year, and this is not helpful for anyone, but it was called It Ends, and it played like 3 different festivals, and I became obsessed with it, and I went to multiple screenings, and I got a screener link, and I've seen this film more than anything else this year, and I don't think it has distribution yet. And it's just like, I literally realized yesterday, like, we all get like a million different PR emails from people multiple times a week being like, "Are you seeing this? Are you going to watch this? Do you want to write about it? Do you want to talk to someone?" And I'm like, "Oh wait, I haven't gotten any of those for It Ends yet." So for me, it's easily one of the best films of the year, but it isn't. Maybe it's next year. Yeah,
Right.
we'll find out. Hopefully it gets something out there. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And have you had a chance to catch up with Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein? What do you want to call it? Remake, reboot?
New adaptation.
New adaptation is probably the
adaptation.
best. Yeah.
Yeah, new adaptation of the novel, I think, is the closest thing. Yes, I've seen it multiple times at this point. I saw it at a press screening a little while ago, and I was like, well, this is beautiful. And now I was literally getting sucked in. I chimed on a little late, and I told Adam I was watching it again this morning, and I got like sucked in, and it was about to be like the creation scene, and I was just like, apparently clocks didn't exist to me for a little while.
Yeah. I feel like this movie's been super controversial, like weirdly.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it's just, I feel like it's a really like love it or hate it thing. I've seen so many people dunking on it, but I watched it, Friday night, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And I don't really get why people are so down on it. So I'm not a huge Guillermo Del Toro fan. I love his presence in the film industry. Like, I love listening to interviews with Guillermo Del Toro. Probably my other favorite movie of his is like Hellboy, right?
Yeah.
Which probably tells you that like I'm not a big Guillermo Del Toro fan, because I think most people would probably rank many other movies above that. I kind of struggle with the tone of his movies, and I thought this content was like so perfect for what he does, because the book is big and romantic and tragic and all of that, and I think he captures it super well. But I'm curious, like, what did you think of, again, it's like it's a completely different way to adapt this story than the movie we're mostly going to be talking about, but what did you think?
The first time I saw it, I was like, it's fine. I do love Del Toro, and I love when he's over the top, and I'm totally okay with him making things that are, to like paraphrase Crimson Peak, like they're movies with monsters, not monster movies. The first time I saw it, I was just like, I was having trouble wrapping my brain around it, and I think it's because I spent the entire time being like, was this in the book? Was this in the movie? Was this in another one? And I just couldn't relax and sink into it. And then watching it again, I kind of was able to shut off my brain and let it be what it was. And that's when I really was like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, and just like paying attention to the score that much more. Like, good God, like thinking music. We need more thinking music in this world. And visually, it's just so beautiful.
It is funny, though, how much expectations matter. This is kind of going off this topic, but like when I saw Tenet for the first time, and I had heard nothing but terrible reviews for it, and then I went and saw it going in with sort of like low expectations. I love that movie. I think that movie's so underrated, but it was one of those things where I was like, maybe I was able to enjoy this more because I went in with differing expectations. So it's this funny thing that you're saying, Dede, of like the first time you saw it, you were sort of caught up in, you know, all of it, that you couldn't really appreciate it or enjoy it as much as once you knew what you were going to get, going back and revisiting it and going, okay, now that I know what this is, I can actually appreciate it on a completely different level, which is kind of interesting. I myself have not seen it yet. I was supposed to see it last week, but my son got sick, and so I had to cancel my screening of it, and then I just haven't had a chance to catch up with it on Netflix yet. But I'm going to try and get to it this week at the theater. I mean, I think one of the things I've been hearing is that, like, you know, and it is the Netflix thing, it doesn't look like his movies maybe have in the past, and that there's sort of a little bit of a streaming aesthetic to it. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, having seen it, but maybe that's something that people are bumping up against. I don't know.
No, I think it's gorgeous. That's a really interesting, like, just literally rewatching bits of it this morning, like the whole design of like his theater, like his like laboratory theater, and then also looking back at his own like workroom that he has that's kind of in the city before he goes out to the country to enter into this giant like tower for his work. Like every single detail is just so rich, and the costumes are amazing. Like, yeah, I don't know what more do people want? Like,
I don't think people know what they want. You know, I think that's the reality, right? Like,
I saw it on the small screen, so I saw it on Netflix. And what I would say is it partly speaks to the fact that, like, also the quality of streaming stuff is getting better, because it's like, it is kind of, I think, in the same realm as like the One Piece adaptation, right? In terms of the quality of the production design and stuff. But that's because the One Piece adaptation is also like, you know, they built a bunch of stuff, and there is CGI, but it's like supplementary. And so, like, to me, it does kind of feel like it's within the current streaming aesthetic, but that's partly because they're dumping a bunch of money into it right now. But then, of course, like, there is, like, the Guillermo Del Toro thing of, like, yes, the production design and the costume design and the makeup and everything is so thoughtful and clearly comes from this, like, small team of people that have worked together forever and have this ability to create this, like, coherent aesthetic. So I think it looks really great. I think some of the more effectsy moments are maybe not as fully realized as I'd want, but like those are like very specific moments, I guess, like when they do have to lean more into like green screen sort of stuff. But yeah, the actual sets and stuff and the makeup look amazing.
Before we move on, Nate, we've sort of already touched on this, but I want to stay in this sort of horror realm just a little bit longer. I know you're not a big horror guy, but have you seen any of the sort of like major horror releases this year, and how have they resonated with you as someone who that's not really your genre?
Yeah, I mean, this is like exactly what you were saying, Dede, is like I'm more in that realm of like, I don't really follow horror that closely because I don't think I enjoy it, right? But then I do see some of the horror movies this year, and I'm like, oh, it was pretty good. I like that. Like, you know, I saw the ones that everyone saw. Like, I saw Sinners, and I saw Weapons, and I think those are the main ones that come to mind, maybe one or two more. But I thought Sinners was great. I don't think I was as high on Weapons as other people, but, you know, Sinners, it's very atmospheric, and it takes a long time to get to the horror element of it.
Right.
And a lot of it is just like settling into this world and these characters. Like, there's a huge amount of time spent on that, but I just think it's so well realized. And also the use of the IMAX moment in that movie is absolutely astonishing, and probably one of the biggest swings I've seen in a movie in a long, long time that I think totally pays off, but I'm sure there are others who are like, what just happened? So, anyway.
Did you see 28 Years Later, Nate?
I did, yeah. 28 Years Later, also really enjoyed that.
That feels like a Nate movie to me. Like, I remember you really liked the original back when it came out. I remember we were both big on that one, so I figured you would be into to call it a legacy sequel feels unfair, but yeah, it kind of is we're coming back to it all these years later. And it was certainly a surprise in terms of its tone and texture, I felt.
And I was one of those people that also liked Weeks Later. So, like, it feels more in line with, like, the way that it dealt with its first sequel of kind of building out the world more so than, like, you know, telling a personal story. And it is more interested in society than it is in the monster part of it. But that's also, like, part of the zombie genre. Maybe, and that's probably one of the areas of horror I like the best is zombie movies.
Dede, what was the name of that film that is currently, doesn't necessarily have distribution? Just so if our fans can keep their eyes and ears peeled.
Yeah, it's called It Ends.
And what's the sort of like log line or like elevator pitch for it?
Oh man, it's one of those films you can spoil so easily too. It's very high concept, but it's basically like, what if you're driving on a road and it doesn't end?
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and there are many, many iterations of the characters in it processing all of that from like every possible way. So
that's super cool.
It's incredible. It's one of those, it was made for like $40, but yeah.
Hey, you know what? Some of my favorite horror movies are the ones that were made for like $40. I think it was last year there was a British Blu-ray label finally went back and properly restored the Blair Witch Project from the original master like materials, the DV tapes and the 16 millimeter film, and I spent an obscene amount of money importing that and getting it to myself, and then because it didn't get here because of the postal strikes in Canada last year, it didn't get here until I want to say like January, and I was like, well, I'm not really in the spooky season right now, so I held on to it until this October, and I finally watched it, and I was just like, I love this movie so much, and finally getting to see it the way it was intended was super cool. But again, talk about a movie, like, the budget on that was like, what, $90,000, if that? And, of course, it ends up making millions upon millions upon millions. But, like, yeah, the scrappy nature of that movie is what I think makes it so special and effective. So sometimes the best of this genre is the stuff that was made, on a shoestring. So
I'm kind of chuckling at the idea of like restoring something that's supposed to look crappy and like shot on video and handheld, but I'm happy that it makes you so happy.
Well, this is a different show, but we can get into it some other time. But the restoration is more about restoring the original intended aesthetic, which is the difference between the low quality SD material and the high quality film material. And basically the filmmaker said the version we've all seen for the last 2 decades was never even really supposed to exist. Like, they intended it always to be a video-based delivery system, and it was because it blew up and had to be printed to film. The version we all saw, which was transferred from a 35 millimeter telescene that was basically, they pointed a 35 millimeter camera at a computer screen and filmed it out from the computer screen. So it's like, when you go back and you watch, and it's nice, the Blu-ray includes both versions. When you watch the version we all have seen, you start to see, oh yeah, like there's like 3 frames of fades in between all the transitions, because like it was like interlaced video meeting up with like actual framed so yeah, it really is a completely different watching experience, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And hopefully one day it will get a proper US release so people don't have to spend like $150 like I did. But it's very cool. So shh.